To continue setting up the site plan view, I'm going to start adjusting a couple of other things. I am going to, let's see, what will be the next thing to do? So many things. I'll go back to the site plan view. I don't want to see the topo surface. Well, I guess I could. Let me think about how I want to do this. Um, Really, the topo surface. I guess we can put it up to the property line, so we can edit the surface and move these to be right on top of the property line. The thing is that by doing that, it's going to hide kind of the property line, and I don't really want to do that. But I do want to put it just up to this edge here, so that way when I go back to 3D, you can start seeing the shape of the lot. Okay, so that's not a problem there. But on my site plan view, I'm just going to hide it. Because remember, it's just going to hide it on this view because I still want to see the thickness of the property line. So then, um, you're going to start placing your dimensions. You're going to start labeling text. Don't forget that the text is 330 seconds. You can start labeling the setbacks, whether it's a 20-foot setback and all that stuff. So I'm going to let you guys do that on your own. You guys should know what to do, what to label. How do you know what that is? Well, you look at the sample. The site plan will show you, the sample will show you what needs to be labeled. We need to put the easements, label the easements, setbacks. Um, the property line, I guess, let me show you how to do the property line. As far as the property line, I haven't done this in a while, so I hope I don't mess this one up. I'm going to go back to architecture and I'm going to tag. Let me see. Or is it annotate? Tag by category. Sorry about that. I'm going to tag by category, and if I tag the line, there isn't a property line tag loaded. So what I need to do is I need to load one. So I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. And I'm going to go to annotations and I'll go to civil, and there should be one already that we can use. If we go to property tag, there's your bearing and distance. Perfect. So we'll hit open, and that's going to be the tag I'll be using for my property line. Notice I don't have to edit the text, and these bearings will be matching what we have on our plan. Okay, and this one right in here, that'll label the bearing and distance, and that'll be fine. But there is another tag for you for the curvature, but for now that'll work. Okay. The other thing I want to do is I want to start drawing in some other things that you'll see: the driveway, sidewalk, curb. At least a sidewalk. Okay. So how do you draw that in? Well, we could draw it with detail lines. The thing though is that if I draw it with detail lines, I will not see it on 3D. It's just going to draw as detail lines, that you'll never see a driveway here. But in my case, I like to draw and model in as much as I can, and then use the model as part of the annotations, because once I draw and model in the driveway and sidewalk, I need to draw it in anyways. You can kind of see the lines here for the driveway and the sidewalk. So I will just draw those in as components. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to draw it in as a floor, architectural. And we have a generic floor. I think that's the one that was used for the foundation. So I'm going to edit type, and I'm going to make another one. I'm going to make a duplicate view. I'm going to call it 4-inch concrete flat work. Flat work is the fancy technical term for driveways, sidewalks, not foundation. Foundation is a different type of concrete, even though it's still 4 inches in thickness. But driveways and sidewalks, things that are non-structural, are considered flat work. Hit OK. And that one, according to this one, is already set up. But if it's not, make sure that you do set it as a material of concrete cast in place with a thickness of 4 inches. So this flat work is the one I'm going to use to draw in my driveway. Okay. This one's calling out for a 24-foot, 8-inch driveway. That's actually pretty big. A minimal driveway for a two-car garage is 20 feet. Honestly, I would use a 24-foot driveway if I were you, just to give you a little bit more space. So, this one does call it 24-8. 24 would be good. But that's a little bit more, just a little bit more elbow room on that driveway. So I'm going to draw myself a line. And this one doesn't have a garage, so you can actually put the driveway wherever you want. So I'm going to just draw it from this corner here. And if we do this, that'll be kind of weird. So I'm going to have to angle it a little bit, since we're coming off the street at an angle, like that to there. And let's see what a 24-foot driveway looks like. If I offset this thing 24 feet, that puts it up to there. I guess that could work, but I think might as well just draw it into that corner. and use the move command and then draw it into that corner right in there. So whether parallel, I'll just use the move command is what I did. And I'm going to go ahead and draw in the boundary of the flat work from here to here. And then I can actually draw the driveway separately from the sidewalk or incorporate both of them. Doesn't really matter. But if you want it separate, I'm going to draw it here to there and then trim this corner to this corner and check. And there it is. So that's my driveway. We want that because that way it does show up in 3D over here. If I can get to my 3D view, see? And that's how you can model it, you can see it. And that's kind of a neat thing. Not only that, I'm going to want a rendered view of the site plan view on the sheet. So once we have it all done, you guys are going to create a rendering, and I want you guys to put that rendering on the sheet. Okay. So because of that, we really do want to model in the um, the flat work. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the site plan view, and I'm going to go ahead and draw in the sidewalk. That's a 5-foot sidewalk. It's not always 5 feet. In real life, you'd actually have to go and measure it, and then offset 5 feet. Like that, and then draw a line from this corner to this corner, and then a line from this corner to this corner, and finish that one up. Check. There it is. And that's my sidewalk. So we can start putting that in, and if you notice, once again in 3D, you'll start seeing your sidewalk. And this is why with a topo surface it gets a little weird. Technically, we can actually, once we put in the curb, and you can keep going, and we can keep going and draw in the curb, the street. You can even create a family for the street with asphalt and make it look like black asphalt. So you can do some really, really neat stuff. Probably the only other thing that I'll show you how to do just to make it look nice is probably put in a rock wall. Rock walls are very typical that you'll see here in the El Paso region. So let me go ahead and draw on a rock wall. So I'm going to go here to rock wall architectural. I could probably start and just draw a 12-inch generic masonry, which is 12 inches. That's the typical thickness of any rock wall here in El Paso. Masonry is just concrete. And you usually place it along the wall center lines. And what's funny is that I'm going to place it here. That is the way it is here in real life, where you place, when you have rock walls between you and your neighbor, 6 inches of the rock walls on the neighbor's side, the other half is on your property. So that's kind of weird. That is a thing here in El Paso where we split those rock walls right down the middle. Okay. And as far as the rock walls, I think that's going to be pretty tall. Yeah, that makes it look like a prison. So I'm going to select that one. I'm going to change the heights. I'm just going to change the up to level 2. I'm going to leave that unconnected and change that to probably about a 4-foot tall rock wall is very typical of what we have here in El Paso. And then we'll just do a match properties MA to match this guy over to these. And we could put one along the front. If you were to put one along the front, that is an exception to the rule, in that the rock wall does need to be completely inside the property line. Not You can't put anything in the right of way. That's just a big no-no. That's not desired. That's not usually what happens, but for now, I think that'll work. And start labeling. Go back over here to the sheet. I'm gonna grip the view here, bring in this little line here and make it smaller. Put this guy in here a little bit like that. We don't need to see that marker, so we can go back to our site plan view and just hide that right in here. Hide and view elements. Start labeling it, and that's how you start creating your construction document of the site plan. What should be in there? Pretty much everything that you see here. Once again, your easements, setbacks, bearings and distances. Don't forget to type in the legal description. Label the sidewalks. Don't forget your dimensions. We do need dimensions from every corner to the property line. And this is going to be your sample. Okay, so we're going to finish that one up. And then the last thing that I want on that sheet, don't forget to name this site plan, by the way. All right. And then as far as this question mark, I know that here we haven't put anything, but really what we should be putting is the property address. So the property address for this one, remember, it does come from the plat. So the plat itself does have the property address. In this case, it will be 1681, just like this would be 1685. 1677 minus 1681. I'm not even sure how to pronounce this. Tonnage. Yeah, that. So we're going to put that one in. That would be actually what I would want you guys to put here, because now we have an actual property address of where this property is located at. PL for place. And then that will fill in that one to finalize the construction document. Don't forget to put your author and checker and all that. And then as far as the rendering, remember I did mention that I do want a rendering. So to do that, you would just place a camera view. And I think let's place it up here in the front to look at the house in this direction. And to make it look kind of cool, I think what I'm going to do, I want you guys to do this, is raise the, like if you're kind of looking at it from a, like an aerial view type of thing, looking down at the house. And then we'll render that view right in here. Oops. Rewind. There we go. Let's go a little bit higher and then look down at the house. Okay, we'll render that view. You can change it to medium and all that. Just right now, I'm just going to go to draft so I can get something to render to show you how to put the rendering on the view. You're going to click render. There it is. To keep the rendering, what you do, you put save to project and you call it something. I'm going to call it my rendering. What do I call it? I guess site plan. Rendering, hit OK. The reason we need to actually save it to project is once I close this, the rendering goes away. But now the rendering becomes part of my project browser. So if I go over here to renderings, there's my site plan rendering. I need that because on my site plan view, I can then drag and drop the rendering onto the sheet. And there's the rendering that I want to add to make this look like a nice complete construction document. Don't forget that for yours, you still need a lot of labels and distances and dimensions and all that stuff. So I'll have you guys finish that up and then submit the PDF for a grade.